Hello and welcome to another Customer Insights and Experience Share. I'm Zamir Javer, Jumpfactor CEO, and we have a very special guest here today, Dustin Frost from Attentus Technologies. It's an MSP based out of Seattle, Washington, and he is here to share some of his insights in being part of the tremendous successful growth of Attentus, as well as some of the inside learnings in growing a fast moving MSP. Thanks for being here, Dustin.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, just a little bit of a background for everyone here in terms of Attentus Technologies. The company started back in 2003 and based in Seattle. It has been focusing on expanding and growing and servicing the SMB market with managed IT services, cyber, and many others. And over the years, they have won multiple awards, including the Inc. 5000 award and many others in those regions. The company is just around 30 people and continuing to grow. And Dustin started in the space back in 2003, actually, in running his own enterprise or business, and eventually was making that successful, and then merged and combined forces with his partner, Charles. And so Dustin brings a lot of experience from a business perspective, as well as on the technology side in terms of servicing clients, and has a lot of unique perspective on what has worked. And so, Dustin, maybe you can share a little bit from your side in terms of, what sort of your focus is there at Attentus Technologies.
Yeah, sure. So as the president, I'm, day-to-day operations. So my goal is to make sure the trains come and go on time. I'm also escalation point. So I tell all of our customers when we meet and talk, if there's ever an issue with my team, I'm the throat to choke. So, I'm there for our customers at any moment. If they need me at all, I love to come in and help. But overall, I focus on security, automation, best practices and processes. My goal ultimately is to integrate all the solutions that are necessary for us to run our business and to help our customers run theirs.
Oh, wonderful. And I know you were sharing with me earlier that you also involved on the growth side now more in terms of building the business further. And so it looks like from my notes, I see we've been working together, partnered Jumpfactor and Attentus for close to 2 years now. And over that time, we've expanded the program in scope twice into different geographical areas and also into different tactics for both outbound as well as inbound. But perhaps some context would be useful. What sort of led to that initial decision to find an outside partner? And also, how did you go about selecting Jumpfactor?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been on the hunt for many, many years to find a partner like Jumpfactor. Originally, we started out, we were sort of this homegrown. We had this idea we could go in and manage our own Google search engine optimization and marketing. And, we were starting to get some traction with it. But we didn't really know how to use it. And we thought, this is the future. People are more and more motivated to buy. They're using Google. They're out looking. And so that was a big part of that decision. We also recognize that, you're part of the entrepreneurial organization, and that had a lot of merit as well. But I think ultimately what it came down to, and what we found, just being terrorized by other marketing companies for multiple years, is that you specialize in this, right? You specialize in this for managed service providers. And we found that everybody says they do everything, but when it comes down to it, they can maybe do something really good, one thing, but not all the things. But that's ultimately why we ended up hiring Jumpfactor during that decision process. Is you really know what you're doing.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I know you shared some of your experience with past firms. I think it would be helpful. A lot of MSPs in the industry, especially that are the ones that are looking to grow, there's so many options out there. It's that you can do things in-house, you can work with some freelancers or contractors. You can perhaps partner with a local agency that may not be MSP specific. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, yourself and Charles, you've tried many different things. Well, what's been the experience and outcome from some of those endeavors?
Yeah, I think the biggest distinction that we found is when you engage with a marketing company, the big thing for me is clarity over creativity, right? And so understanding the results, like when we meet with other marketing companies, they'll tell me, hey, we're going to do 4 to 8 blogs and we're going to, write 9 to 10 emails. Well, I'm like, which one? Is it 10 or is it 9? And so there hasn't been a lot of clarity. They don't know their own business very well, in my perspective. The other thing that I found is most companies, they're outsourced branding. They're not outsourced marketing, right? They want to go and work on your logo. They want to make your website pretty. That's all fine and dandy, but none of those things generate me leads. Like, you're not 4Xing my lead gen by changing my logo.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly. You need to be more data driven. I know our team puts a big
Right.
focus and emphasis on that, which obviously has had some solid impact. So if we look at some of the data from the team, I can see that, one of the reasons we've worked together for so long and expanded the program is the search visibility has improved significantly. We've gone from about 70 keywords on page one to about 580 across the board. And this is obviously continuing to grow as we add on new cities and locations. The other thing, of course, is the end outcome. At the end of the day, this has to net, new revenue for the business from a ROI perspective. And so we were chatting earlier and just kind of confirmed that in comparison to even just recently when we spoke with Charles, the revenue numbers have gone up in terms of total revenue, lifetime revenue that's been acquired, which is at 1.9 million. And there's even more in the hopper in terms of in the pipeline, about 2.5 million or more. Plus, I see some notes of money, different projects that have been closed. How has this sort of changed the operations internally, and what's now the approach going forward in terms of how you generate new business? Because we find often, that when you start to see these leads coming in and they convert, it can often create a change in mindset in terms of going forward and where to focus.
Yeah, I definitely can tell the team is more excited, right? Like, when you're a fast growing company and you can see behind me, we're a values-based company. We're big on core values. Building trusted relationships is extremely important to us, not only with the relationships with our clients, our vendors, but also our team, right? So I'm seeing that trusted relationship morale go way up. We're being way easier to work with. It's forced us to look at our operations in a different way, right? When you're growing at the speed we're growing, we can't make mistakes in onboarding. We're less likely to make mistakes with projects because we're focusing on that efficiency. We're really focusing on automation and security. I mean, it's amazing what it's done for our organization. We're super excited, and we're learning a lot too. So I feel like you're leveling us up, right? So with all these leads coming in our business, it's forcing us to inspect how we're doing business and how we're building these relationships, because we're not transactional at all. And so that's really helped us position ourselves in the market. And I think it's just the beginning. Like, we've only had a relationship for 2 years and we've added 1.9 million in revenue. I mean, it's and with hundreds of leads in the hopper, relationships, people we've met with through this system, we're really excited about what's happening.
Awesome. Yeah, I know we were chatting earlier that, we're excited to hear that you're bringing on some additional resource from an SDR perspective to support you
Yes.
and the team on growth. And that's something we always recommend is, we can bring the visibility in, and some percentage of leads will, raise their hand proactively and say, hey, we're interested. Can we have a consult or speak? And then the key is making sure that there's very fast and consistent follow-up, not only to leads that have come in, but also to those that are identified. Today a lot of companies are pretty apprehensive, as you may know that, when they fill out a form, they know they're going to get hit up by sales reps, and so a lot of them will kind of wait till they've researched maybe 5-6 companies, and they're kind of holding off. They won't fill out a form, but they've been to your site, and if you've identified them through visitor ID technology, there's a big opportunity there. So I think it'd be helpful to share some insights on what your plan is with that. We were talking about how are we going to squeeze more out of this so we can, boost ROI even further and kind of be ahead of the competitors. And that's one area I know you had some ideas on.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is the buying process of the prospect, right? So, when you go to buy managed services in our, geographic region, there's multiple MSPs, right? So those people are going to go to Google or Bing or whatever they're using, right? And search managed services. They can find 5 of them fairly quickly. So I think responsiveness to the lead is so important. We recognize that more and more and more. If you wait, 2 hours, they could have already found another partner, to have a discussion with. And I think, a lot of folks are price motivated too. They're like, well, how much does it cost? I think a big reason why we've grown so quickly is because I can give somebody the price on the first call. Oftentimes I see and I hear from the prospects like, wow, I've been through 4 meetings with this other MSP and they're still trying to justify the value that they have. And we still don't know how much it's going to cost. And so I think the speed of, talking to people and letting them know, even if it's a ballpark price, has been extremely important in our growth.
Yeah, that's interesting. In fact, I've noticed that with other discussions we've had with some of our MSPs where they've seen that being transparent and forthcoming with pricing has been beneficial. People are price sensitive today, and a lot of the leads coming in that we see across, thousands of leads is people are unhappy with existing provider. There's MSP switchers, as we call them. They're like, hey, I don't know if I'm getting value for what I'm paying, or I think, we can find somebody more responsive and so on. And ultimately, it's a cost value question, right? So if you're able to, one of our MSP clients does a more bare bone base pricing, and then they layer on other pieces so that it's kind of flexible. The client can choose to add on pieces. So there's so many options that can be, used to make the client feel or the prospect feel more comfortable there. So I completely agree, and I think that's a great strategy. Yeah. So in terms of obviously we talked about sort of the what led us to where we are and the outcomes that we've had, but obviously at the end of the day there's still an ongoing relationship. We're constantly growing and building things, so you need to be able to work with a team that you've selected. How have you found that to be with the Jumpfactor team from a project management and accounts perspective in terms of collaborating and working together?
I'm huge on accountability. If you know me personally, you know this about me. And I love the accountability that Jumpfactor has. And we're all about rhythms. If we can meet on the same time every other week like we do, and we have an agenda, we have very focused things that we're looking at, the metrics, the data, the leads, everything's organized. That is super important to me. And understanding what we're doing and why we're doing it and when we're doing it is a big deal. So we love that structure. You have structure, you have rhythm, you have accountability. And I think those 3 things are missing from most other marketing companies. So that for us, we've been able to leverage your structure, and it's very similar to ours, right? So we're looking in a mirror and we love that. But being able to leverage that relationship and the people that work for you, let's not forget that they're accountable, they're on time, they're meeting with us, and they follow through with what they say they're going to do. I literally can call your team members on their cell phone if I need to, which is huge.
Right.
Like there's companies out there, I go to their website, there's no phone number, I can't get a hold of anybody. Drives me nuts. So, I love that. Like you are a part of our team. And that's huge. And I think that's why nothing's easy. You can't overnight, generate 1 million leads. It takes time. There's a lot of foundational work that your team has done for us. You've even had to come and say, hey, your baby's ugly, look at your website, all the behind the HTML and everything that makes Google work isn't working, right? And we need to do this, 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 and this. So there's been some heavy lifts that you've done. And we're probably not the easiest client because of our accountability. But you've stood right up and faced it and helped us overcome these challenges, which has been huge for our relationship.
Yeah, that's great. And I think we similarly appreciate the, transparent dialogue and accountability. We've seen over the years, of course, our organizations have very similar values. First of all, we both kind of follow the, EOS principles and traction and sort of have our own set of values, which we embody. And so everyone on the team sort of, adheres to those in terms of accountability and tenacity and being transparent. So I agree. I think that's key, and appreciate you highlighting that, the rhythm is really important. And the people on the team, I think equally, one of the things we try to focus on is having, and we always share, is in the marketing space, it's so diverse in terms of the tactics and skills that are required to execute and drive leads. You've got design, you've got content, you have offsite SEO, onsite SEO. Even within SEO, there's 4 different technical subsets. So we typically have maybe 13 different skill sets, contributing, and we call them all T-shaped marketers. And you will speak to some of them sometimes, but what's your experience been in terms of the knowledge and skills of the team, whether it's from different functional areas or your day-to-day contact?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have acronyms I've never heard about. So you're going in and looking at the metrics. I mean, you're under the hood looking to make sure we're projecting in the right direction, if I could say that any better. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing to like all the things we didn't know, right? It's what you don't know. And I think that's where a lot of managed service providers get in trouble. They don't know how to ask the right questions. And so, they get led on, by the other marketing companies that are out there because you put faith in them. Like, all right, they're telling me all the right things, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's about leads for us and, generating revenue. But yeah, I think just the metrics and just the deep understanding in the space is huge. And, I read through the emails. I'm like, wow, I've never looked at, the metrics that way, like the lifetime value of a client and, like what is our domain, strength, what are all these little metrics, and they all matter, right? It's a combination of things that to improve on. It's not just one thing. There's a million things. And I think you have a really good pulse on what all those levers are to make the MSP stand out, from Google to the prospect. I mean, just the AI and the things that you're doing in the future and all the things, you're not running away from the change in the industry. You're running towards it and you're using it as a catalyst to become even better. And so because we're a technology company, most marketing companies out there don't get that.
Right.
They're still stuck in this old way of thinking. And so I love that, like you're a technology company, but also support MSPs in their marketing. So it's a really great spot to be in.
Agreed. Yeah, we're excited by a lot of the changes. We kind of approach them head on. As you said, Google throws curveballs constantly. We actually study the patents well ahead of time. So we're actually changing our strategies from an offsite and onsite perspective well in advance, and we tend to reap the rewards for you as our client. And even when it comes to AI, we've already been leveraging that heavily. There's new technologies we've built. As you're seeing that we're rolling out, we've now integrated podcasts and videos for our media and content for all of our clients, which is helping to accelerate, conversions and ranking. So yeah, it's, we're passionate about it. We love sort of that piece. And I think obviously that helps to drive better level of success. Any other pieces that you would see, you found sort of beneficial in terms of the work that we've been doing together over this time? Anything specific that kind of comes to mind?
I just love that you challenge us to be better, and I think it comes down to just your knowledge in our industry and attacking it week after week after week. There's no let up. And so that's what I love. I mean, the word that comes to mind is grit, and so that's what we need to be successful with technology changing, marketing changing. I mean, there's a million social apps out there today and different things, and just reaching our customer, it's been huge. So, I mean, there's a million other things that I could say. I think I've touched on most of them. But yeah, I just think that, everything from our website to how you program the Google backend to AI to blogs to all of those things combined, that's really, I think it's a combination of things that is giving us the results that we're seeing.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's important not to be caught up in busy work. And one of the things we try to really hone in on is what is that 80-20 that's going to drive the needle. You're always going to be able to do things that are not going to move the needle. And of course, because of the extensive experience across hundreds of MSPs across over a decade, we've been able to fortunately see what does work and what, more importantly, what doesn't, so we can avoid those things. And then, you were able to kind of fast track results to make sure that we're seeing ROI. And it also gives us a good view of, what is a good ROI? What's a typical cost per lead? What is a typical cost of acquisition of revenue? And we're excited to be able to deliver those kind of insights and we'll have more and more of those coming in some of the upcoming podcasts. But to kind of maybe help wrap things up for an MSP that's looking to grow, what would be your recommendation in how they go about selecting a partner? So, there's, let's say, an MSP is, looking to add more revenue, more MRR to the books. They need to, elevate what they're doing. And what would be sort of your recommendation of things they should look for, and also some watch outs of what they should try to avoid?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, just clarity versus creativity. When you're engaging with a new partner, having that clarity, like I said earlier, are they going to do 3 or 5 blogs, or are they going to, give you 9 or 10 keywords, or, they need to be specific, and the accountability side of that is so important. And, I just really think that, if you're an MSP out there, the big thing is specializing. You look for a partner who specializes in something. So if you look at the, outsourced marketing companies, they say they do all of it, but to be frank, they can't do all of it good, and so, for us, we found, with what your engine, your processes, your best practices, your people, all of that combined delivers results, right? So, I mean, out of everybody that I've hired, no one else has brought the leads to us like you have. So that's how I would frame it. It's like, okay, this works, the other things are not working. So, I mean, that for me sums it up. The accountability side's huge, and you hold yourself accountable. And, and the core values, like you said, you mentioned we have similar values. No one's perfect all the time. We're not, things are going to happen, but it's when something doesn't go right, your team is there. Like, you approach us and say, we're here for you. We want to listen. What went wrong? What can we do better? And you always come out of that on top. And that's what I love about Jumpfactor the most, is that grit, being able to go, okay, this didn't work out the way we thought, but we're going to attack this thing and make it better. So we see that, our culture and our organization is very similar, but that's why you're our favorite marketing company.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that, Dustin. And yeah, that's really, something that's close to my heart too, is one of our core values, tenacity. I think it's the same thing you're talking about, grit, right? So that's what's led us to always come out on top for you, for our client and everyone in the picture. And so, we kind of, I think, share that same philosophy. Well, listen, I think, Dustin, this has been really insightful. A lot of the, MSPs that are out there struggling to kind of figure out how do we take things to the next step. We'll find some really useful insights, and I'm excited to have some even further chats with you on another episode as we, continue down the path together. So thanks very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Very welcome, Zamir. Thank you so much.
Cheers.